What if I told you that doing nothing is the most powerful move a man can make? Not calling, not texting, not explaining, just disappearing. With discipline, most men panic when a woman disrespects them. She pulls away, and they chase. She replaces them, and they beg. They send paragraphs at midnight, hoping to prove they're worth staying for. But here's the hard truth. That ache in your chest, it's not love. It's ego. It's your pride refusing to accept that someone could walk away after you gave so much. Stoic men don't operate from ego. They don't chase. They don't argue. They simply observe. They let people show who they truly are. And when someone reveals that they can discard you, you don't plead for another chance. You don't justify your worth. You disappear, calm, cold, and focused. She made her move, whether she thought you were too available or someone else's seemed more exciting. It doesn't matter. What matters now is what you do with the space she left behind. Most men try to fill that space with emotion, texts, calls, stories. She doesn't care to open, but not you. You're not here to be emotional fuel. You're here to evolve, to become a man she never thought you'd be. Not to win her back, but to outgrow her memory. Because, here's the truth, your silence kills illusions. At first, she'll feel relieved. Then she'll feel bored. Then curious. Then haunted. But you're not even watching. You're busy. You're building. You're becoming untouchable. Silence is not weakness. It's clarity. It doesn't punish her. It protects you. It commands attention without a single word. And when you vanish from her screen, when she can't feel your presence, that's when the shift begins. Not in her, in you. You don't flinch anymore. You don't explain. You rise. If you're done being the backup plan, if you're ready to let silence speak for you, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She didn't lose love. She lost access. Now, let's get into it. Number 1. Silence isn't surrender. It's a calculated strike. It's not weakness. It's not fear. It's precision. A man who chooses silence doesn't run. He observes. And observation gives him clarity, timing, and power. Because when you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop responding, you don't just disappear. You create an absence that hurts more than presence ever could. Most people expect noise. They expect the argument, the reaction, the chaos. But silence is unpredictable. And in that unpredictability is power. When you go silent, you don't just remove sound. You remove energy. You stop bleeding your power into someone who never respected it. You deny access to your emotion. And for the attention-hungry, that's psychological starvation. People fear silence more than they fear anger. Rage can be argued with. Begging can be mocked. Even pain, when spoken, feeds her ego. But silence is different. It forces her to sit with herself, with no echo, no validation, no attention. She expected drama. She expected a flare-up. Instead, you gave her ice. Now she replays everything. Did he go too far? Why isn't he calling? Why is he just gone? That's what silence does. It flips the script without saying a single word. And here's the key. You're not ghosting her out of spite. You're ghosting the version of yourself that begged for approval. You've outgrown the conversations where you had to prove your worth. You've stopped being the man she could predict and started becoming the one she can't ignore. Because once you become unavailable, you become unforgettable. A Stoic man doesn't need to be heard to feel powerful. He doesn't explain himself to someone who's already closed their ears. He doesn't chase after what left him empty. He stands, he watches, and when the moment comes, he walks away, not in anger, but with certainty. He knows you don't beg for crumbs. When you know you're the whole feast, silence, real silence, is not weakness. Weakness is talking just to be noticed. Weakness is trying to prove your worth to someone who has no intention of seeing it. But silence forces her to listen, not to your words, but to your absence. And one day, when the noise fades and the mirrors start to reflect, she'll remember the man who didn't react, the man who didn't chase, the man who vanished with calm purpose. She'll remember that the most powerful thing you ever said was nothing at all. Number 2, do not chase. Let her live in the damage she created. She walked away. She played games. She disrespected what you offered. And the first thing you feel, that urge to fix it, to explain, to prove you were worth more, that's not strength. That's conditioning. You were trained to fight for what abandons you, as if loyalty is proven by how much you endure. But here's the truth. Every step you take toward her only reinforces her belief that she has power over you. She wounds you, and you respond with pursuit. No, that ends today. You don't chase someone who caused the fire and then watched you burn. You don't clean up messes you didn't make. You let her sit in it. You let her taste the silence she created. Because growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discomfort, from consequences. And your absence, that is the consequence. No messages, no late-night replies, no closure delivered on a silver platter. You give her distance, and in that space, you remove the safety net. She feels the cold for the first time. See, when you chase, you save her from herself. You block the full impact of her own decisions. You give her relief when she should be facing reflection. But when you stay silent, when you remove your presence, you hand her a mirror. And what that mirror shows is not just what she did to you, but what she lost in the process. Eventually, the fantasy will collapse. The silence will grow heavy, and she'll start to wonder, did I lose something that won't come back? Did I push away the only man who truly showed up for me? But by then, it won't matter, because you're no longer available for the same pattern. You're not here to rescue broken attention seekers. You're not a fixer of emotional chaos. You're a man with boundaries. And when those lines are crossed, you don't negotiate. You disappear, not with anger, with finality. This isn't revenge. It's realignment. She lost access. You regained control. And if she can't handle the silence, if she spirals, reaches out, tries to bait you back, that's not your burden. Stay grounded. Stay quiet. Let her feel what she created. That's where the real lesson begins. Number 3. Pain is your catalyst, not your curse. Pain isn't here to break you. It's here to build you. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're alive. It means something inside you is waking up, something that's been asleep for too long. You weren't meant to avoid pain. You were meant to master it, to take it in, feel it fully, and rise through it with clarity. That heartbreak, that betrayal, that emptiness after she walked away, it's not the end. It's the beginning. Most men don't realize that. They try to drown the noise. They jump into distractions, fake comfort, temporary highs. But all they're doing is running in circles. A Stoic man doesn't run. He faces the wreckage. He looks straight at what hurt him and asks, "What am I supposed to learn here?" Because pain isn't just discomfort, it's direction. It points to what needs healing, what needs boundaries, what needs to be burned down so something better can rise. When she stopped showing up, when her love turned cold, you thought something was wrong with you. But maybe that pain was your invitation to stop betraying yourself, to stop overgiving, to stop accepting crumbs, to stop chasing people who wouldn't walk a step for you. Pain shows you what was fake, what was fragile, what you clung to out of fear, not truth. And when you sit with it long enough, you stop asking why she did what she did, and you start asking why you allowed it. That question right there, that's where power begins. Because healing doesn't happen when you avoid the pain. It happens when you walk through it, with eyes open, fists unclenched, and heart grounded in truth. This version of you, the one rising quietly, while she scrolls, while she posts, while she pretends she's fine, isn't driven by revenge. You're driven by purpose. You're not building a comeback. You're building a man she never truly understood. A man even your past self wouldn't recognize. You don't want to hurt you back. You want peace. And now you know it's something you build, not something she gives. So when her name echoes in your mind, don't let it sting. Let it sharpen. Let it remind you of how far you've come. Pain isn't your punishment. It's your evolution. Use it. Grow from it. Become something unshakable because of it. Number 4. Master emotional control, or be a slave to it. If you don't master your emotions, they'll master you. And once they do, you're no longer in control. Someone else is. She didn't expect you to go cold. She expected you to break, to lash out, to slip into desperation. She wanted to feel powerful, not because she left, but because you couldn't handle it. Because if you explode, she wins. If you vent, if you spiral, if you over-explain, you confirm everything she needs to feel superior. That you're reactive, that you're still emotionally invested, that your value was tied to her presence. But you're not here to prove you're okay. You're here to be okay regardless. A Stoic man doesn't deny what he feels. He processes it without performance. He understands that his feelings are valid, but not every feeling deserves a reaction. He guards his emotions like a blade, sharp, restrained, only drawn when necessary. Let's be clear. Emotional control isn't numbness. It's intelligence. It's power. It's the ability to hold the fire without burning the house down. You might feel everything, but you don't express it to satisfy her ego. You don't type paragraphs. You don't check her page. You don't chase shadows of what's already gone. And that silence, it speaks louder than any words. While she wonders why you disappeared, you're rebuilding in peace. You're not performing for her. You're preserving your energy. You're showing her the version of you she underestimated. Control doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to give your soul to chaos. You remain steady, unshaken, unbothered, and that composure becomes unsettling to her. She expected to see the man fall apart. Instead, she sees a man sharpening in solitude. You didn't ghost her to punish her. You walked away to protect your mind, because that's where the real war is. Not in her inbox, not on social media, not in public perception. In your discipline, the man who rules his emotions rules the game, and the man who needs to be seen losing already has. Number 5. Detachment makes you dangerous. The moment you detach, everything changes. Not because you became cold, but because you stopped needing her to feel whole. You no longer hinge your peace on her attention. You no longer measure your value by her reaction. You've cut the invisible cord, and now she doesn't know how to reach you anymore. That's what makes you dangerous. Not rage, not revenge, but the complete absence of dependence. You've shut off the emotional faucet. No more comfort on demand. No more unconditional access to your presence, your energy, or your forgiveness. And that withdrawal, it sends shockwaves, because most men beg, plead, over-explain. They offer closure she never earned. They stay available long after she's left. But you walked away with your dignity. Now you've become unpredictable, and unpredictability disrupts control. She can't calculate your next move. She can't push your buttons. She can't manipulate what she no longer understands. You're not bitter. You're just awake. You've realized that some people weren't meant to stay. They were meant to show you how easily comfort becomes complacency, how easily love turns into expectation, and how silence, when used with clarity, speaks louder than any goodbye. She thought you'd orbit her life forever, a safe fallback, a guaranteed reaction. But now, you've vanished from her radar, and the quiet is louder than any argument. She stalks your silence. She checks your feed. She re-watches old messages, not because she misses you, but because she lost the power she once held. You're no longer chasing. You're no longer explaining. You're not waiting for her realization. You've made peace with her absence. That's what detachment looks like. It's not apathy. It's strength. It's standing in the fire and not flinching. It's letting go fully, without resentment, because you've outgrown the story that kept you small. She can't guilt you anymore. She can't bait you with silence. She can't use the same emotional tactics that once worked because you're no longer reacting, you're choosing, and that shift forces her to look inward. For the first time, she's not analyzing you. She's questioning herself. That's the paradox. You didn't have to destroy her. You just had to become immune to needing her. That's the version she never expected. The man who disappeared, not in anger, but in evolution. Number 6, her guilt will come, but only if you stay gone. Here's what most men get wrong. They think guilt is instant, that when she sees you pull away, she'll feel it immediately. She won't. At first, she'll feel light, free, like she's finally liberated. She'll post those smiles on social media, the ones meant to prove you were never that important. But that illusion fades. Not with time, with silence. Guilt doesn't walk in when you leave. It arrives when she notices you didn't look back, when your name stops showing up on her phone, when the man who once gave her constant access is now unreachable. That's when something shifts. But here's the critical part. That shift only happens if you stay gone. The moment you reach out, even with a casual text, you let her off the hook. You relieve her of the very pressure your absence was supposed to create. You interrupt the consequences. And when you do that, you're not being strong. You're being soft in the moment. She needed silence the most, so don't do it. Don't rush in to rescue her from the storm she created. Let it rain. Let her sit in it. Let her wonder why your silence stretches longer than she expected. Because guilt takes time to brew. It doesn't show up in a firestorm. It whispers in the quiet. In the stillness of late nights, when her phone lights up, and it's not your name. It shows up when she remembers your steadiness, the way you listened, the way you gave. And now, you give nothing. You're not angry. You're not spiteful. You're just gone. That's what haunts her. Because now, her mind begins to ask the questions you never did. Is he over me? Was he better than I thought? Did I lose a man who was once irreplaceable? Don't seek closure. Don't stalk her stories. Don't ask mutual friends what she's saying. Let the silence work. Let the weight of your absence be louder than any words. That's how she learns. That's how guilt wins. And most of all, that's how you win without ever lifting a finger. Number 7. Attention is currency. Start of her. There's one thing you've been giving her without even realizing its value. Your attention. Every time you scroll past her stories, every like, every emoji reaction, every glance at her feed, you're paying her. Not with money, but with validation, and she knows it. She doesn't need your words to feel powerful, just your eyes. As long as you're still watching, still reacting, still showing signs of presence, you're telling her, I'm still here. And that's the mistake. She gets to feel desired without doing anything to earn it, wanted without offering depth, loved without loyalty. But that ends today, because now you understand something most men never do. Attention is the new currency of power, and she's been spending yours like it's worthless. In a world flooded with likes and stories, what's rare becomes valuable. What's silent becomes loud. So, pull back, cut the stream, go dark. When you stop giving attention, you stop feeding her ego. And when her ego gets hungry, she starts wondering where her supply went. She won't admit it, but she feels it. She'll post the thirst trap, drop the quote, post that nostalgic throwback, just to get a ping from your presence again. But you won't bite. You've seen through the game. Because when a man removes his attention, he shifts from being common to becoming a question, from predictable to powerful, from background noise to unforgettable silence. Now, she's the one staring at your page, noticing your absence, feeling the chill of your emotional withdrawal. She's not wondering what you're doing. She's wondering why she no longer gets to know, and that question, it eats her alive. Don't give her the one thing she's always counted on. Your energy, your attention, your gaze. Let her learn the cost of losing access. Let her remember the man who once gave generously and now gives nothing. Every moment you resist checking her page, every time you ignore her bait, you raise your value. You stop being a character in her drama and become a mystery she can't stop thinking about. So let her thirst. Let her scroll. Let her sit with the silence you created. Because your attention isn't free. It's earned. And she just lost the privilege. Number 8. Level up in silence. Success is revenge. You want real revenge. Don't text her. Don't sub-post vague quotes. Don't try to make her jealous. Do nothing and become everything she thought you couldn't be. That's the move. Level up in silence. No status updates. No emotional explosions. No need to prove a single thing. Because when someone walks away thinking you were disposable, the most powerful thing you can do is grow without them. Here's the raw truth. She expected you to chase, to fall apart, to try winning her back with some dramatic gesture. But when all she hears is silence, and all she sees is growth, it shakes her core. Because silence has no explanation, and growth gives no apology. While she's out trying to replace your energy with noise, you're rebuilding in the dark, not out of spite, but out of discipline. You hit the gym not to impress her, but to reclaim your body. You study not to flex, but to sharpen your edge. You cut off distractions not to punish her, but to invest where it actually counts. Yourself. And the best part, she won't see the process. She'll feel the shift, but won't be able to trace it. She'll ask mutual friends. She'll scan your profile. She'll wonder why you disappeared from her orbit. And that mystery, it'll haunt her more than any insult ever could. You've stopped rereading the chapter she belonged to. You're writing new pages she doesn't get to appear in. That's what leveling up means. Not loud, not petty, just focused. Every second you once gave her is now building your legacy. You're not a follower in her story anymore. You're the plot twist she never predicted. And when she finally realizes she downgraded, when she looks back and sees you thriving, glowing, rising, you won't even care if she notices, because the goal was never to be seen. It was to become someone she'd never be allowed near again. You don't stunt for validation. You let the results speak. You don't seek closure. You are the closure. That's how Stoic men move. Quiet, certain, unshakable. Success isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. Number 9. Don't block her. Let her watch you win. Blocking her might give you momentary peace. Sure, but keeping the digital door slightly cracked, that's a different game. That's not avoidance. That's calculated silence. That's strategy. When you don't block her, you're not keeping her in your life. You're letting her stay in the audience. Front row, lights dimmed, no control over the stage. She's just a silent witness to the evolution she never expected. Every win you don't announce, every change you don't explain, becomes a mystery she can't solve. She checks your page, says no desperate quotes, no passive-aggressive posts, just absence. And that absence screams, you're not there to impress her. You're not posting to get her attention. You're not seeking validation. You're just moving, quietly, powerfully. And every time she refreshes that screen and sees no trace of you bending, breaking, or reacting, that's another cut to her ego. Because here's the truth. She expected a breakdown, a reaction. She expected you to spiral, to chase, to seek closure. But instead, you became composed, cold, not cruel, detached, not bitter. She thought she could walk away and stay in your head, rent-free. But now, every time she checks in, she realizes she's locked outside the life she used to touch. And that silence, that's your edge. It's the sharpest blade in your arsenal. She feels it, in the quiet, in the unanswered curiosity, in the unsettling realization that she's no longer part of the narrative. You don't need to block her to move on. You moved on the moment you stopped performing for her approval. Now she watches a show she's no longer cast in, a show where you don't flinch, don't stumble, don't explain. You rise. And every time she sees you doing better, not to prove her wrong, but to prove yourself right, she doesn't see a man holding a grudge. She sees a man who outgrew the game, who mastered the silence, who learned to win without making a sound. So no, don't block her. Let her see exactly what she lost, and know she can't ever touch it again. Number 10. You were the prize all along, but you had to be broken to finally see it. Here's what no one tells you when she leaves. She didn't destroy you. She revealed you. She cracked open the parts of you that still doubted your worth, that still sought approval, that were willing to shrink, silence, and settle, just to feel needed. But now the fog has lifted. Now that you've walked through the fire and made it out, burned but breathing, you can finally see the truth with clear eyes. You weren't just a man in pain. You were a man on the verge of rediscovery. She didn't walk away from weakness. She walked away from someone who was about to become powerful, because heartbreak, when faced with honesty, doesn't just hurt, it rebuilds. You were the one who stayed loyal, who gave effort, who tried to build something real while she was still playing pretend. And she left, not because you weren't enough, but because she wasn't ready for someone who was. Let that settle in your bones. She didn't lose a follower. She lost a leader in the making. And now that you've pulled back, leveled up, gone kid, gone deep, she sees it, not in your words, but in your absence, not in your messages, but in your silence, not in your desperation, but in your growth. You no longer chase peace. You are the peace. You're not waiting for closure. You are the closure. You're not trying to prove your worth anymore. You embody it. And the version of you that once needed her validation, he's gone. Gone with the begging. Gone with the late-night texts. Gone with the pain. What remains is the man who decides. The man who chooses. The man who opens and closes doors on his terms. She was never your reward. You were hers. But she didn't recognize it in time. And now she watches from the outside. While you move from wounded to untouchable, you were never just an option. You were always the standard. And when you stopped needing to be loved, to love yourself fully, that's when you became the storm, the stillness, the prize, all at once. You made it to the end. And that means something powerful. It means you've seen enough of the pain, and you're done letting it control you. You're not the man who keeps hoping, texting, waiting for her to return. You've stepped into something higher, not out of hate, not out of revenge, but out of clarity, because something inside of you finally snapped, not in chaos, but in focus. The old you, the one who begged for love, who tolerated disrespect, is gone. Now, what stands in his place is something colder, calme, more dangerous. This wasn't just a video, it was a mirror, a blueprint, a ritual of letting go. You're not here to chase anymore. You're here to choose, to build, to rise. So let her watch from the distance. Let her wonder what you're doing, who you've become. Let her scroll in silence while you evolve in strength. While she looks for a replacement, you're becoming irreplaceable. That's Stoicism in motion. That's dark psychology mastered. No more questions. No more seeking closure. You are the closure. You are the power. And from this point forward, your life no longer revolves around anyone who couldn't see your worth. You don't need her apology. You don't need her regret. You've risen too far beyond that now. And if you're truly ready to stay on this path, to sharpen your discipline, to never go backward again, then do one thing. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Stoic Spirit, and comment below. The chase ends with me. Because this isn't about impressing her anymore. It's about becoming untouchable for yourself, for your peace, for your power,